This meeting is being recorded.
Tell me where you want me to look.
You're gonna look right at her.
I'm gonna look at them.
Yep, just like you're talking to each other.
Isn't silent. Okay. This will be interesting. So, Chris, I have never done this before, so this will be
I've never done it either. So
So let us know when we can start.
Just get in frame. So.
Yeah, this is where we fine tune things. Be about 3 minutes or so before I'll have to hit the record button. But I'm going to let you go, right?
Okay.
Because I've done a million of these.
Okay.
And I'll probably just give you one little tip or two, or you a tip or two. But basically, you're having a conversation, and this is a fly on the wall.
perfect.
Okay, sounds good.
And,
These are the questions that we'll be asking.
so what you want to do is try not to, like, if you get passionate about anything, kind of like,
Don't hit the mic.
Don't hit the mic. Correct.
Okay.
And just go through focus one more time. Okay, the first thing I'll do is I'll help the editor out. If you can say and spell your first and last name, the company you're with, and maybe your position.
Chris Mannix, CHRIS MANNIX. I work for Pearson, PEARSON. And my role with Pearson is that I am the director of internal projects, specifically internal software deployment across our service teams.
Great. You're just looking at her and have a conversation.
Well set. Perfect. Sounds good. So, well, the first question was please say your name, title, and company, but you have done so already. But if you want to go ahead and do it again without spelling it out.
I don't think you have to do that.
No? Okay, sounds good then. What is your role within your organization and what is your relationship to Kimball?
I'm the director of Pearson's project management office, and what that means is we manage several internal projects. Many of them are specific to software deployment. The software is used by our teams to put system controls around the jobs that they do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, perfect. And what exactly is your relation to Kimball specifically?
In late 2016, a business decision was made to transition off of our legacy scheduling system, and we started investigating professional services automation providers. Kimball was a name that came up. We vetted them. In January, we decided to move forward, and we implemented the resource deployment functionality of the Kimball offering on Monday, May 15th of 2017.
Perfect. And why did you purchase Kimball? What differentiated it from other solutions you considered?
The reason that we went forward with Kimball was that we were looking for the features and functions that were offered by the Kimball product. The bottom line was that we were using a 15-year-old legacy system that was not sustainable and not practical in a 2017, now 2018 reality. We needed slick modern software with good technical coding. And I think the proof is in the pudding. We've been using Kimball now for over a year. Thousands of assignments have been scheduled through the technology. And I think that speaks to the coding and the architecture of the technical product.
Excellent. And which Kimball features are most valuable to your business?
At the current time, we have only implemented a limited scope of the Kimball offering, specifically the resource deployment space within Kimball. So we use it for colleagues to request resources, and then it's used to assign resources, and eventually that's where we're tracking when they're sent to the field and do the delivery on behalf of the Pearson for our customers.
Okay, perfect. And how has Kimball affected the culture within your business?
Well, we take the principle of data-driven decision-making very seriously at Pearson. Part of data-driven decision-making is access to data. You can only have data talk if you have data reports, and you can only have data reports if you have sources of data. Kimball is one of our most important sources of data because it tracks off of the Salesforce opportunity what has been sold to the customer, and then using the Kimball functionality, what we're delivering on behalf of the customer. And it gives us that traceability in the data in terms of what our colleagues in sales are selling and what we in professional services are servicing.
Let's do that one more time. Just the front end of it was a little bumpy.
Choppy, ask
Yeah.
the question again.
And then would you mind when you do answer to it, for example, so I asked, has Kimball affected the culture within your business? And you're like, Kimball has affected the culture, and it sounded like a full sentence.
Kimball has affected the culture at Pearson because at Pearson, the concept and the principle of data-driven decision-making is taken very seriously. In order to have data-driven decision-making, you have to have data. And the way that we use data at Pearson is we use data reports. You only get data reports if you have authoritative sources of data or data systems to track the data. In Kimball, in conjunction with Salesforce, are two systems that we use to track data and report out on data, and that's what we use to make decisions and also perform analysis on what's being sold and then being delivered in the field to our customers.
Perfect. How has Kimball impacted your business performance, or what has been your return on investment day/payback?
At the current time, what's really important to us is that we have...
Just roll back that one.
Roll back that one
Yep.
because I'm stuttering. So let me think about my answer quickly, Scott, because this is the most difficult one to answer.
Yeah.
And she'll ask you again. Why don't you do that now for me?
Okay. How has Kimball impacted your business performance? What has been your return on investment to date/payback?
Kimball has impacted Pearson's performance to date in that for the first time, we are requesting resources and scheduling resources in the Salesforce tool. A few years back, a decision was made to use Salesforce to track our pipeline, as well as forecast what the sales was going to look like. Obviously, it is the demand driven by what we're selling that drives in services our need for capacity. And so now that we have a technology tool, Kimball, that is a managed application within Salesforce, we've improved what that concept looks like from end to end. Before, we had two separate systems, so the only way that we could compare or contrast what was happening was by doing a manual blend of data.
Okay. And I'm going to add to the question, is there a number related to the benefits? So a percentage of, has it changed business efficiency or anything like that? Let's see how I can. It's okay.
I don't have a financial number to stand with you and say, oh, we've saved $50,000.
That's perfectly fine, though. No worries. So my next question is, how many people currently use Kimball within the company? And are they using Kimball as intended?
We have approximately 880 users that are using Kimball. We do believe that they are using the technology as intended, because we know that we've been able to successfully schedule the requests for resources that have been entered since May of 2017. So when you look at the scope and the timeline of what we set ourselves up to do, after over a year, and with so many events that we know have been scheduled through Kimball, we are highly confident that it is being used as it was intended to be used. However, I would also like to state that we know that we're using a subset of functionality, and we are very much interested in investigating the end-to-end offerings that the technology tool has to offer.
Okay, perfect. Did you use a PSA before Kimball? And what was the overall experience of using it like?
No, we were not using a PSA before Kimball. That was one of the main reasons why we decided to implement Kimball. Kimball is the first true PSA that we have been using. Previous to this, we had a database. It was not PSA technology. That was 15 years old, and as I've already stated, unfortunately was not sustainable. So there came a point where we knew that we needed to implement cutting-edge technology, and in this space, that technology is given the name of professional services automation.
Perfect. That was
You're doing really well. We're going to do that one again. And what I'm going to ask you to do is roll, instead of just coming out with a no at the top, you're going to roll her question into your answer as you come back,
Okay.
come out of it. And don't bother referring to what you said before. Just say it again,
Okay,
okay? Because it might be the first time we hear you.
okay.
All right? So those two things, ask him the question, he'll roll it in, and we'll do it again.
Did you use a PSA before Kimball? If so, which one?
Before we were using Kimball, we were not using true PSA technology. We were using a homegrown system. It essentially was a database that had been developed to meet the need that was 15 years old. And as time went by, we knew that such old technology was not going to be sustainable. As a result, we made a business decision to go down the path of professional services automation, and in our specific context. Should I start completely over again, or just start from that sentence and you can splice it?
We can splice it, but I think if we roll back a little bit
Okay,
for
I'll
overlap.
do it over
Okay,
again.
so I'll ask the question again.
And when you have this technology or whatever you're speaking on, and it's that much improved, you know, a little confidence, a smile that you've delivered on this.
Previous to our deployment of Kimball, we were not using a true PSA tool. Rather, we were using a homegrown technology tool. While it was meeting our business needs, it was 15 years old, and we knew that it wasn't sustainable. It was only when Kimball became part of our ecosystem of technology tools that we were able to bring the true 2017-2018 modern technology to our business practices that was much needed. Now that we have rolled out this new technology, what we're seeing is that we are able to track the data, track our requests, track who is doing what for which customers in a much more tight fashion. The Kimball technology sits within Salesforce, and that's a huge win for us because it means that when we're going to look at data, we don't have to look at two separate systems, and we don't have to merge data reports from two separate systems. Rather, we have this sort of one-stop shopping. In our specific context, it's been very helpful to have Kimball because of the way the architecture speaks directly to Salesforce, and because it really does provide a single user interface.
Just roll back a little bit on the idea and try not to rub your face too much. You're fine.
You're going to cut all that out, right?
Oh, yes. It's all cut out and put into a blooper reel.
In our specific context, Kimball has brought automation to the business processes that previous to Kimball, we did not have automated system controls on.
Short and sweet.
Perfect. That was the last question.
Is there anything you want to roll through or that they might have missed, or just something that you might want to say?
Yeah, is there anything additional comments that you want to
Do I have anything in my notes that I can say?
go to it?
Do me a favor, in the camera case out there, there's a card reader. Thanks, Alex. Yeah.
No, yeah, we covered those points.
Yes, we covered everything.
Are you comfortable with,
Yeah, the information was great.
like, do you have enough to make a video?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You're very well spoken.
Thank
You
you.
are-
I'm tired.
Your ideas come out very well. And I would just maybe just cover an overall general. Is this a marriage of two companies working together? Is that what we're?
Do you want me to talk about business partnership and that we had a very good experience with the implementation
Yeah.
resources that were provided?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Wait for the door. Wait for Alex to get settled. All right, anytime.
Because I come from a professional services background, it was very important that we have a successful implementation. One of the things beyond the features and functions that were offered by the software was that Kimball was also able to offer a very competent professional services team that worked hand in hand with my team to configure and implement the product and make sure that we had the appropriate training didactic materials for the 880 end users that we have spread across the United States.
And I'll ask one more question actually. Has Kimball met all your expectations?
That's a difficult question. Well, let me rephrase it so it's a full sentence.
Yeah, just roll it back in.
At the current time, it's difficult for me to say if Kimball has met all of our business expectations. The reason why is we're only a year into our implementation and we're using a limited subset of functionality of the Kimball offering. I am confident because we've been so successful with resource deployment that moving forward as we look to deploy the other features and functions that are offered by the Kimball technology, that it will meet other business expectations that are present within my current corporate context.
Perfect.
Great. All right, Alex is going to take that mic off you. We're going to ask you to stay nearby for 5 minutes. I want to check the file, make sure it's good.
Pretty good for English as a second language.
Yeah.
Get out.
Oh, what is your first language?
Sign language.
Now, yo soy boricua.
Oh, okay.
Para que tú lo sepas.
What is that?
I'm Puerto Rican.
Oh,
Yo soy dominicana.
Yo lo sé, hello. Pero no, hello. ¿Dónde estamos?
I never would have guessed it.
Yeah, I moved here a year ago.
Oh, wow.
wow.
That's awesome. That's great. I know you have your meeting at 3. It's currently 3:01.
I could be a minute too late. I want to make sure that
Yeah.
Alex and Greg have what they need. I don't want to be.
That's
obstacle to
very helpful. I
success.
really appreciate that. You know, it's just double checking homework here.
Yep.
With all the efforts
course.
of you being here. I'd hate to see you 2 minutes out the door and us going, hey, we
I tried to speak as clearly as possible.
didn't see a fly on your head. Sorry about that. Can you come back?